Hi there, I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez, and this is the Design Your Physician Life podcast. Welcome to this episode brought to you by our maxAllure Mastermind, an exclusive mastermind for physician entrepreneurs. Today, we have a very special guest, Dr. Sharon McLaughlin, creator of the Facebook group Female Physician Entrepreneurs and of Sharon Mac Consulting, where she helps others build their businesses without the burnout through web design, course creation, and social media development. We have a great conversation with Dr. McLaughlin about being a balanced entrepreneur. Are you ready? Let's go!
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Hi, guys. We're very happy, very honored to have Dr. Sharon McLaughlin in our podcast today. We will be discussing some tips and recommendations for you to learn to design your physician life. And we are honored to have Dr. Sharon McLaughlin. She's actually a plastic surgeon and the creator of this big, huge, large community called Female Physician Entrepreneurs. She has this group on Facebook, and she helps us women entrepreneurs to connect, promote our businesses. More than that, she's helping us, supporting us, and she has marketing. With all this help, she has given us a place where we can come together and lift each other up. The work that she does for us is really unbelievable. Thank you so much, Sharon, for that work, and thank you for being here today.
Dr. Ramirez, thank you for for having me, but also the work that you're doing, encouraging the younger physicians, to change their path or just, keep an open eye. And there's so many opportunities. And we were talking just before I came on, what you're trying to do as far as reaching like pre-med students, medical students before burnout occurs is extremely important. You're very much into prevention, which you had mentioned, but I think prevention is the key. And I think that medicine is a great field to go into. It still is a great field to go into, but there's tools and tricks that Dr. Ramirez can help you with. So make sure that you listen to her podcast, make sure that you spread the word. But all of these things, these tools and advice from other people and guidance, it's all available. So make sure you lean into that and take the opportunity and really just appreciate what you have and just run with it. That's the bottom line. So I appreciate it. I'm all about burnout because I've experienced burnout myself. And I would love to go back and tell my younger self some things. My daughter is actually pre-med, or she's considering pre-med. And there's so many things that I want to tell her. And she's like, Mom, just stop. But I'm like, no, because I don't want her to follow in my footsteps. I'm not speaking about not being a physician. I think being a physician is wonderful. It's the way that I was a physician. So yeah, let's get this talk started and what I would tell my younger self.
That's awesome. So I first want to learn more about your younger years. I want to learn what inspired you to be a doctor, what you were like, what it was like for the first time when you thought about being a doctor, and then a plastic surgeon, which I found awesome. So tell us about that.
So I was 13. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a type of cancer. And I was treated at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And pretty much at that point, I knew that I would be a physician. I was not the top student. I worked really hard, but good grades did not come easy. And I studied a lot and honestly, even in high school, going through treatments and all, but I was a B+ student. And then when I got to pre-med, I was a biochem major and I studied a lot. That's all I can say is that, and those grades did come, but it required an enormous amount of work.
So wait a second. I'm going to interrupt you because you said that a B student can be a plastic surgeon. Is that what you're telling me?
I think in high school, definitely. Now, when you get to college,
Yes.
It's going to be a little bit different. Okay, guys, they have, it's more competitive, but all I can say is that I really tried in high school and I was about a B+ student. And that's what's really trying. And for some reason in college, I can't say it was easier. The courses were hard, but I was able to overcome learning difficulties or whatever it was and really just put that behind me. And I do carry imposter syndrome with me. I think, it stems from not knowing that I'm not the smartest one in the room. But I do believe that that's not always the most important thing. What's important is your persistence and your mind to be open and learn. And medicine is constantly evolving. So when you dedicate your life that you're going to be a physician, know that you're going to be a learner for the rest of your life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a lot of us go into medicine because we love science, we love to learn.
Let's talk about learning, because there are some things that you said, some challenges when you were 13 years old and being diagnosed with lymphoma. This is a type of cancer that requires a lot of time being outside the school, and you were missing a lot of schoolwork and you had to catch up. And not only that, you're a teenager emotionally dealing with all this stuff. And through all the pressure, you still were inspired to become a doctor. We know there were some changes that you had to make in your transition from high school to college in terms of your studying, and then later to medical school. Are there any particular tips you have in terms of the way that you studied, the way that you learned?
I actually paid for undergraduate myself, so I worked the weekends. I think a lot of this is going to be structure and planning ahead. I don't expect to whether you're taking anatomy and physiology or biochemistry or kind of cram at the last moments that you did in high school. That's probably not going to happen. It's a matter of revisiting the material at least every day, if not every other day, and not letting wide gaps go in between, keeping up with your schoolwork and really making time for fun as well. I hope that you're not going to be working during undergrad like I had to do. But I do think, whether you're a biochem major or chemical or engineering, biomedical, there's so many different degrees, that can go into medicine now. I think it's just a matter of time management. That's really what it comes down to. And when you get to medical school, the same thing, time management. You have to be good with time management. And all that really is just, there's different techniques that you can use, but kind of sitting down Sunday night, planning your week, when you're going to do what, when you're going to schedule in fun time as well. Also, keeping up with your assignments and knowing when your tests are, for your semester, you'll know when your tests are for the rest of the semester. So then plan it out accordingly. If you want to head home for the weekend or go away, you're not going to go away that weekend before, like an exam week, right? So just planning out ahead of time and having a good schedule. And then as far as studying, we know that you can't really just sit for 4 hours and it won't be as productive. We know that what you want to do the Pomodoro effect, just sit down for 40 minutes. Usually it's the first 10 minutes and last 10 minutes that you do the best. So there's different study techniques that you could acquire as well that would help you learn. And, a lot of the school nowadays is online. Like your textbooks are online. I always suggest if you're able to print it out, because that idea of highlighting and taking notes in the column or rewriting, it's that rewriting that really makes a difference. It makes it stick. So if you feel like you're not doing as well, but you're reading and reading, it could just be because you're reading things on the computer and it's very different than actually writing it out. Remember, we did flashcards back in school, like grade school or whatever. Go back to the flashcards for some of it. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, in my case, I have to tell you that I did a lot of rewriting on the sides, like everything on the sides of the paper, everything that I studied. I think I rewrote all those books to some extent. But the good thing is that from rewriting on the sides of the papers, I would write it again and then learn. Every time you write, you learn. And that's the way I was able to do a very quick review of the material. And the truth is, the computer makes you tired, for example. It just gets tiring for reading all that stuff and the blue light. And just maybe the experience of having that paper, going to remember. I know that we're talking a lot about paper, and the new generations don't maybe do this, but it's just a type of setting that helped me personally. You had some techniques that you developed and then you became better students. You had a better application for medical school. Tell me about the decision of becoming a plastic surgeon. What happened? How did you say, okay, I'm going to be a plastic surgeon? I don't think they were treating you then for your lymphoma, right? The plastic surgeons were not. So how did you get your inspiration?
No. I would have to say that I've always loved creativity and I loved art. Truthfully, I wanted to get into orthopedic surgery and I didn't match. I didn't match the first year. I ended up doing a rotational year in surgery. I applied for the second year and didn't get in then either, and then decided that I would do plastic surgery. I was, came in as a transitional year, I guess you call it, but then I was offered a spot to finish up the general surgery. I know now plastic surgery is a bit different, but at the time it was 5 years general surgery. and then 2-year fellowship in plastic surgery. It was kind of like a process of elimination. I didn't plan it this way. Truthfully, I changed the path many times. When I originally went to medical school, it was to be a pediatric oncologist. And when I started doing medical rotations, I was like, no, I like the surgery better. I definitely prefer surgery. So then it was, what type of surgery did I want to go into? I mentioned I was interested in orthopedic surgery. I looked into urology. But in the end, the way that it worked out, I ended up doing plastic surgery.
Well, I have a story a little bit different. I was 14 when my first friend passed away from leukemia. He was I went to the hospital to visit him. I was the only one there who was allowed to visit him as a friend. I was very honored. And I thought, maybe being a pediatric oncologist, I could help people like him. And it was my friend, but then it was different. The point is that I decided to do something else other than the pediatric oncology, even though I was inspired by his story, just helping people. And when I went to medical school, I really didn't know what I was going to do. You can change at any point that you want anything. The point is that you have choices. So while we're in medical school, we're learning. The most important thing is to learn medicine. Hopefully you'll have to take the time, you'll be able to take time to be balanced, as you said, and time for your hobbies. And it seems that hobbies might have contributed to the fact that you wanted to be a plastic surgeon. As you say that you were interested in the arts and crafts. So tell us a little bit about that. How did that contribute to your choosing, like taking your life now to the next level as a plastic surgeon?
In so many ways, I still like to paint when I can. I still like to draw and doodle. I create websites, as you know, and that to me is like my creativity now because it's more of a digital form. So there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate what you like, your hobbies, into plastic surgery. And as you know, plastic is all about, right, like plastico, changing it, molding it. So I had many opportunities to reconstruct after cancer. So in a way, like I still brought that cancer in. That was always my favorite part of, being a plastic surgeon, was being able to do the reconstruction.
One of the things that we have mentioned that is very important to us is to have a balanced life. And when you're a physician, you will always be that, and you're going to be fine to some extent. But that doesn't mean that you don't have other things that you really want to do and you enjoy doing. One of the things that Dr. McLaughlin does, and we mentioned this at the beginning, is her helping female physician entrepreneurs through her Facebook site and her other services that she provides. And one of those services is building websites. I want to talk about how is that transition from being a plastic surgeon to helping physicians and letting go of your creativity through building websites and helping with branding.
Mira, I look into the cost of websites, of what people charge, and I'm going to do a podcast for the group on this. It doesn't have to be that way. You need to spend money when it comes to your website on pictures, like images, and graphic designing as far as the pictures go. But the actual placement of the pictures and also the copy, spend money on copy or time on copy. But the actual design of the website is quite easy. There's templates, and there's also different platforms. I work with one that I love. And it's like, I don't use templates. I basically create my own templates from scratch because I enjoy it that much. But as far as in our group, there's a lot of physicians that they want to try other things. They felt like maybe that, medicine isn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. They like it a lot, but they also want something else on the side. So maybe it's coaching, maybe it's consulting work, maybe it's being a speaker. So they need websites for that. And that's where I come into play as far as, if someone needs something built.
I believe that as physicians, one thing that happens is that we're just going through intense studying. We're studying medicine, we study, take all these tests, and then we suddenly come to a point where we have a lot of extra time, hopefully, right? Luckily, we don't have to study like that when we're in our careers. And then we can spend that time building with our families, building our practices, and building some other businesses help us in try to just let that energy, creative energy and energy in general come out. So that's how we build these businesses. And they actually help us to be able to have an extra outlet for the intensity that we're used to. And Sharon has helped us in coordinating, helping us promoting and connecting our through her group with female physician entrepreneurs. In doing this, she has allowed us to have an outlet. So Sharon, tell me about what you've learned, maybe one or two lessons that these female physician entrepreneurs have talked about and through your group to have just a little idea. Tell us about the group a little bit more.
Group started a few years back. I felt a need in my own life because I was always into entrepreneurship and trying different things. And in my own life, I didn't have that. My husband, I love him, but he's not into entrepreneurship, trying anything on his own. And my own friends, some of them are in medicine, but they too aren't interested in doing side gigs or trying something different. So I started the group and it really took off. There's over 7,500 in it right now. But I just love it because we share ideas, and it's a place where we can come, where we share ideas, and that's how you learn and grow, right? It's all about networking. No matter what you do in life, whether you're a physician full-time, whether you even real estate, whatever it's going to be, you need to network because this is how you learn and grow. You learn about it. And then, you work with other people. Sometimes you do a favor, sometimes they do a favor, but it all is about increasing your circle. So never think that that part stops as well. You have to be an avid learner, but you also have to be good at networking as well. So, and you could do it regardless of how much of an introvert you may think you are. It's extremely important to get out there. And a lot of people that just sit back in the group too, and they watch, they read, they skim the post, and they reach out. They're like, oh, I don't ever publish or post anything in the group, but I've learned a lot. So that too, if you want to take it that way as well. But there's plenty of opportunities out there to meet and greet and just learn. And whether it's my group or any other group, it doesn't really matter. Just something that you're interested in. And then you surround yourself with those people that are interested in the same thing.
A big lesson, a huge lesson I think that we've learned in this type of group is that no matter what you do, you should really try to surround yourself with like-minded people. Being in this group really helps you grow, connect, gives you a sense of belonging, a sense of support. And it might not be Sharon's group that you decide to belong to, although I really highly recommend female physician entrepreneurs if you can join. But whatever type of group you decide, look for people who are going to help you, bring you up, help you promote, help you to support of each other, grow. And it's very important. And now it's different than before because we do have ways of connecting in a way that we've never had in the past. We have alternatives and we know that we can just come together and learn from each other. So Sharon, is there something else, maybe another lesson that we can give our listeners about being in these groups, in this type of group?
Oh, well, there's so many things, but I think that there'll always be people doing different things. And sometimes you may think they're a lot further ahead of you. It just may not be your time right now. Whatever somebody is going through, whether it's family, whether it's a sick relative, whether it's just you're not sure what you want to do, it's okay. And that's throughout life. You'll see that maybe you open up a practice or you join a hospital, but someone gets a promotion. And I believe that we all have paths to live. And part of this, there's going to be some disappointments throughout life. Sorry, guys, but it's going to be. But it's okay. You just keep on going. You try, hard. You keep an open mind. You work on yourself. I think self-development is extremely important. So that's something that I've learned in the group as well. People have reached out to me, and when they're talking to me, I do some coaching. They're like, I'm not as far as ahead, and they're guilty about it. They feel bad about it. I'm like, I don't know what to say. This is really, it's okay. It's not your time yet. You learn and you grow, and you just keep at it if this is something you want to do.
We're then preparing for medical school and we go through all that training and we might have the desire to be entrepreneurial, right? But we also need to train to be good doctors. We need to concentrate and focus on that. And then when you come out from studying medicine, one of the things that you will notice is that you've been surrounding yourself all the time with these wonderful people who are so talented because let's admit it, right? Not everybody is accepted to medical school. So there's something pretty unique about the individuals who apply to medical school are not accepted. And then you go to work and it might happen that the frustration starts when you're surrounded by people who are making decisions and you don't agree with the way that they're making the decisions. They don't have the similar preparation, yet they're in positions where the patient care and your future are determined. And you need to have some type of other energy release method. It could be entrepreneurial. It can be that you're focusing on your hobbies, like, I don't know, meeting people who like to walk dogs or paint or do something together with other like-minded people. So it's very important that to prevent burnout or to treat burnout, that you start by associating yourself with the right community. Let's talk about now the fact that you have a daughter, right? And she is going through medical school, but now you're the mom. So imagine that you're in your daughter's position. What would you tell your younger self? What would you tell your daughter now that you've seen how these groups work, how medicine has changed? What type of advice do you have?
I think you have to put your blinders on. It comes back to that comparison. It depends on where you are and how confident you are. But if you're someone that has maybe low self-esteem or not as much confidence as somebody else, you're always going to be worried about what somebody else does. But it doesn't really matter. It matters what you do. Basically, you know what you have to do. You have to get good grades. You have to do some volunteering. Pick something that you're really passionate about so that, you're not doing this and then a little of that. Like, I believe in consistency. I think that's important. So those are the things that I would really tell myself is, you know what you need to do. Have confidence in yourself. Work on self-development now, because that's going to actually help prevent burnout later on in life, I believe. And you have all the tools at your disposal. It's just a matter of you putting in the work and doing it. You may not get in the first time, unfortunately. You will get in the second time, or something else will happen. Like I mentioned with orthopedic surgery, I have no regrets about not going into orthopedic surgery. Could I have tried a third year? Could I have done a year of research? Absolutely. But at the time I said to myself, no, I no longer want this. So there'll be ups and downs throughout your life, but those bumps may not be the worst thing. In retrospect, sometimes it's, a gift that had happened so that you're able to appreciate or go on another trail or another path and then see, that really wasn't for me looking back at it. So keep your blinders on. Do what you need to do. Only worry about yourself and like your needs I'm not saying be selfish, but that self-care goes a long way. Getting 8 hours of sleep a night, making sure you're eating nutritious foods. Those are the things that, even as a busy physician, we lose, and you pay a price ultimately. It's so much easier to crack open a bar and start eating that rather than making yourself like a meal based on whole foods, but we know how important it is. So definitely self-care. Worrying about you, only yourself, working on self-development, and you'll get there. And surrounding yourself with really like-minded people that, more importantly, are supportive, because some people may be heading in the same direction you want to go in, but if they're not supportive, if you feel like you're not fitting in, or surrounding yourself with them makes you feel worse, then you don't belong with that group. Those are the things I would have to say.
Awesome. So I want to summarize some of the tips that we've given from before going to medical school. And I have to tell you that I've had some kids actually from high school who are now listeners of this podcast. So I want to talk to them as well, besides our very seasoned physician entrepreneurs. And we know that time management is going to be very important. That's the first thing we talked about. And time management is all about priorities. It matters what you put first. So that's what's going to determine your time management. It's going to determine your organization planning. And it's going to be important for you to put yourself there at the top. So that's where a balanced life will be determined, when you're putting your studies first and then the rest. We also reviewed some studying techniques. And the important thing is that there's lots of different techniques. You just have to study and find out and explore to see, so that you can maximize your capacity and your output. Then we also talked about surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and this should be from the beginning. You have to surround yourself with people because you become the sum of whoever's closest to you. That's what they say, the 5 closest people to you. So you can start this very early. And if you have graduated medicine, you're practicing medicine, and you still notice that everybody around is just complaining, then you know what? Love them. But then find people who are going to help you grow, people who are going to be focused and trying to be supportive. And we know that failure is sometimes expected. I have to tell you, in my case, I applied to only one college, one medical school, only 2 internships. I was accepted to both, and I was accepted only to the only residency and fellowship that I applied. So I have to look back and think that I really had a fixed mindset, because I always thought that I would always be successful at everything that I did. And no, finally the failures came, and I learned from that, and I learned that I have to grow. And if I didn't surround myself with people who would help me to do that, then I would still be probably like crying in a corner or something, not growing and getting out from whatever challenge I was confronting. It's very important that you learn that the one who survives is not necessarily the stronger, it's those who adapt. And that includes surrounding yourself with the right people. And thank you, Dr. McLaughlin, for all the tips that you have given us here today. Do you have any other final thoughts for our listeners?
Have grace for yourself. That's really it. You have to have grace for yourself first, because other people pick up on that. And if you don't have grace, there's some not so nice people out there sometimes. And so have grace for yourself and be patient. And all the tips that we reviewed. It's a great talk. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramirez.
And now a bonus for our listeners. So if you want to be a plastic surgeon, become a plastic surgeon now in 2022, do you have any tips to be able to get into plastic surgery residency?
Yes. Yeah, that's the answer for all of it. It will always be networking. You can apply, and yes, there's a chance that you're going to get in randomly, but nowadays with social media and the ability to go spend time, doing at that program, is very possible to attend their grand rounds if possible, if not virtually. So I had the privilege, I don't know if you've noticed, but on Twitter and LinkedIn, but I've seen it more so on Twitter. The matches started the other day. It's early, right? But it's like they're applying. So people were doing profiles. It used to be like you used to hide from social media because you don't want the programs checking out. Well, I can't tell you how many times I saw like nice pictures. I'm so-and-so with a little of their background applying to, internal medicine residency. They're doing it for networking. That's the bottom line. They want to make relationships, and they know by putting themselves out there that perhaps the right person will take notice, the right program director who's also on Twitter. You just never know. So the tip, whether it's plastic surgery or another program, make sure that you are networking with the right people, because yes, you will, grades are important, but it also is who you know and really what extracurricular activities you've done. But part of that is going to be who you spend time with during those extracurricular activities.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharon McLaughlin. That was awesome. Guys, we had a great time. Thank you for being here and listening to this podcast. Well, guys, that's it for today. Stay tuned for more of our Design Your Physician Life podcast, which was brought to you today by our maxAllure Mastermind, an exclusive mastermind for physician entrepreneurs. We will continue to bring you useful resources to develop your physician entrepreneur life, like we did today with Dr. Sharon McLaughlin. You can actually reach her at her website, www.fpstrong.com, or at sharonmacconsulting.com. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great time as we did. Stay in touch with us. Visit our website, www.maxallure.com, which is MAXALLURE. And please don't forget to subscribe, like us, give us 5 stars, and share the love. Share with your friends and family. See you later. Thanks. Bye.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.